Hey guys, welcome back. So today I will be covering once again resolving 5/7 to a 1 chord. The biggest difference between this one and the last video is that in this case we do not know that the 1 is a root position 1, so we no longer know already what our bass note is going to be. So as you know, I love my step-by-step processes, so that's what we're going to do here. So let's go ahead and do number 1. In most cases, you want to figure out what scale degree your first chord is, but in this case, we already know it's going to be a 5/7 chord because that's what we've gone over. Even if you didn't know that, it's as simple as figuring out the name of the chord and then figuring out where that sits along the scale that is the key signature. So assuming we didn't know that this was a 5/7 chord, the easiest way that I have found to figure out what chord this is without driving yourself nuts, just trying to, rearrange the letters in a way that fits perfectly, is you go one letter at a time and you basically count and see if all of the notes required to make that a 7th chord are true. So for instance, the A here, a 7th chord would be A, C, E, and G. So you have an A, you have a C, you have an E flat, but no G. So that is not an A7 chord. For a C7 chord, you would have a C, E, G, B. You have a C, E flat, but no G or B flat. So that's not a C7 chord. We have an F here. For an F7 chord, you'd have an F, A, C, and E. You have an F, you have an A, you have a C, and you have an E flat. So it looks like you do have an F dominant 7 chord. So let's go ahead and write that in there. And we're going to write over the bass note, which is an A, because this is clearly not root position. So at this point, if you did not know that F7 was the 5th, 7th chord of a B flat major scale, at this point you know that it's a 5 chord because F is obviously the 5th interval in a B flat major scale. Second thing is this F7 over A tells you that it is a first inversion because A is the 3rd within an F7 triad. So as you can see by our definitions over here, first inversion 7th is a bass note, is the 3rd of the chord, which is the A. So we're going to go ahead and enter that figured bass, which is 6/5. And if my finale would put it in the right place, we'd be good. Alright, so now we have our 5/6/5 chord written out properly. So now we're going to go ahead and work on resolving down to the tonic triad. The rest of it we've already done before. You just resolve that leading tone up, you resolve the 7th chord down, and then you resolve the remaining notes to the closest chord tone. The only thing that changes is that you no longer know for sure that your bass note goes with that 1 because we don't know if this 1 chord is going to be inverted or not. So let's just do what we already know we're going to need to do. So the first thing we need to determine is what our leading tone is. Key signature is B flat, so that leading tone is going to be an A natural. So making sure we're in the right layer, let's go ahead and take that A natural and we can resolve it up to a B flat. And we already know that this second chord is going to be a B flat of some sort. We just don't know what type of inversion, so we'll figure that out as we go. So now we've got our B flat, and it just happens to be that incidentally the bass note happened to be our leading tone, but it's not always going to work out that way. If you don't automatically get your bass note, don't panic, you will get it. So next, let's look for our 7th. In this case, the 7th of the F7 chord is that E flat. So switching layers again, we want to resolve that downward because it's a 7. So we're going to resolve that down to a D because that's what fits next in the B flat major triad. And then we want to go ahead and resolve the other two. So you've got your tenor clef. Your tenor note can either be resolved upward to a D or downward to a B flat. In this case, I'm going to resolve it downward because in most cases, you are going to end up resolving your remaining notes downward. Every once in a while, you'll resolve them upward, but in this case, it's going to work out to resolve it downward because this is actually the root of the B flat chord, and it's better to have more roots than other notes. So all we have left, it looks like, is our alto voice. We are going to take our F, and incidentally, F fits within that B flat major triad. So we're going to leave that F where it's at. So now you can see we've got a B flat, F, and D, which is a complete B flat triad. And to boot, it's not inverted because it does start on that B flat in the bass note. So we don't even need to add additional Roman numerals. We're looking good there. Okay, so I'm not going to do these next 3 problems because it's pretty much the exact same thing as we just did. I am, however, going to go ahead and cover this one because it looks like it's going to be a little more difficult than the others because it resolves to a 6, but I do want to show you that it's really not any harder. So starting back at the beginning, first we want to figure out what scale degree the first chord is. Obviously, like I said, we know that this is going to be a 5/7. So let's go ahead and write in that 5 chord. We don't skewer everything else on this page. So we've got that 5/7 chord. We don't know what kind of inversion it is yet, so let's figure that out as we figure out the chord names. So let's figure out what the name of this chord is. Is it a C minor 7th chord? Well, you've got a a C7 chord would be a C, E, G, B. Well, we've got a C, we've got an E natural, we've got a G, and we've got a B flat. So it looks like in this case, we don't have to do much digging because we already know that our chord is going to be a C dominant 7. And the reason why it's dominant is because, and not a minor 7, is because that E has been made natural. And if you're still confused on how to figure out what types of 7th chords there are, I will be posting another video, probably not tonight, but no later than tomorrow, and you can view that to kind of go over that stuff as well. So we've got our C7. We don't have to put any kind of inversion because this is not any kind of inversion. The bass note does start on that C. So we're looking good in that case. And since we're here, let's go ahead and name that 6th chord. We don't even have to figure out the notes on this one because if this one's a 5, then that means that the 6th is going to be the next note within that scale, which is a D flat. So we go ahead and put that D flat, and we're not going to put an inversion there because we don't know if that one's going to be inverted or not. Based on the homework assignment, I don't think it's going to be inverted, but we'll find out here in just a moment. So that being said, let's still enter that 7 next to the Roman numeral because we want to know that that's not just a regular old 5 chord, it's actually a 5/7. It's just not inverted. So then we go ahead and we move on to the easy part. Let's just resolve our leading tone up, resolve our 7th chord down, resolve the remaining chords, and then determine if there's any kind of inversion in this 2nd chord. So that being said, what is our leading tone of F minor? Well, that would be E natural, not E flat because it's a harmonic minor. So making sure that we are in the right layer, we're going to take that and resolve that up to an F because that's the closest chord tone within the D flat triad. And then you want to go ahead and find that 7th note. So the 7th note of the C7 chord is going to be a B flat, which is located here in the soprano. So we're going to switch layers again. That B becomes resolves downward to an A flat because that also fits within the D flat chord. And then it looks like all we have to do is resolve our tenor and our bass. So we're going to go with our tenor first. The tenor is a G, and the closest chord tone will either be an A or it will be an F. we are going to resolve it down to an F because, once again, you typically want to resolve downward with your remaining notes. And then our very, very last one is going to be the C, which can either resolve upward to a D, but incidentally it can't resolve downward because that's a B flat, which does not fit into a D flat major triad. I mean, I guess you could resolve it down to an A flat down here, but it's just as easy to go ahead and resolve it up to that D flat because that's the root of the chord. And like I said, it's better to have more roots than it is to have more thirds or fifths or sevenths. So now we are left with a D, F, F, and A. A flat, I should say. I'm sorry, D flat, F, F, and A flat, which makes a D flat tonic triad, and it is also not inverted, so you don't need to enter any figured bass, which is lovely. So there we have it. I hope this helps. Like I said, if you need help determining what kind of seventh chords they are, I will be posting a video for that. Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions.